NASA has just unveiled some brand new information on the first moon-based missions, and they're launching sooner than you think. Plus, if that's not enough, the first 2 lunar rover contracts have been awarded, and they plan to be carrying astronauts across the lunar surface as soon as 2028. To start things off, the first 3 moon-based missions have been announced, but they're not actually brand new missions. They're pre-existing commercial lunar payload services, or CLPS missions, which are being rebranded to moon-based missions. But that doesn't mean they're not exciting. The first of these, called Moonbase 1, is the maiden flight of Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1 lander called Endurance. This is the first of 2 test missions to validate the technologies needed for its much larger Crew Blue Moon Mark 2. It'll be flying the BE-7 engine for the first time, power and propulsion systems, avionics, as well as the all-important precision landing capabilities. You can't have a reliable lunar lander if you can't make it down in one piece without tipping over. But it won't be flying alone. On board will be scientific payloads such as Scalps, a suite of cameras to image the plume of regolith created by the spacecraft's engine firing, and a laser retroreflective array, which is a highly accurate navigation beacon that will help orbiting spacecraft determine a more precise location using reflected laser light. I wonder if it could also navigate you to the subscribe button here on Breaking Space if you haven't done so already. Plus, Moonbase 1 is targeting a landing on the Shackleton Connecting Ridge on the South Pole. This location is where NASA wants to establish a permanent human presence because of the availability of water ice in some permanently shadowed regions, which can be used to fuel humans and spacecraft alike. Moonbase 1's lander is currently undergoing pre-flight testing at Blue Origin's facilities at the Kennedy Space Center, with launch scheduled no earlier than the third quarter of 2026. The next mission, Moonbase 2, is Griffin Mission 1, the maiden flight of Astrobotic's Griffin lunar lander. They have flown a lander to space once before, their much smaller Peregrine lander, although it never made it to the surface of the moon. Shortly after separating from ULA's Vulcan, its ride to space, it developed a propellant leak and had no other option but to coast back to Earth, where it re-entered. Hopefully Moonbase 2 goes a little bit better, because it's carrying more than 500 kilos of payload to the surface, including 2 rovers. One of those is Astrolab's Flip rover. Try not to get confused, we've got 2 companies with very similar names in close proximity here. Astrobotic does the lander, Astrolab does the rover. Astrolab's rover is called Flip, and it's not that big, but it is very important. It'll be testing out technologies to inform the future of crewed lunar mobility, but more on that in a bit. Moonbase 2 is launching no earlier than the fourth quarter of 2026 on a Falcon Heavy. The last mission rebranded, for now, was Intuitive Machines' next flight of their Nova C lander, IM-3, which is being called Moonbase 3. It's convenient how the 3 gets retained in there, but it's a complete coincidence. Nova C has flown and landed softly twice before, famously tipping over on both occasions. Alongside some payloads from international partners, the lander, named Trinity, will be carrying the science experiment Lunar Vertex, which will study lunar swirls. These are lighter spots on the surface of the moon with high albedo, with the optical characteristics of relatively young regolith, and there are multiple theories as to how they form. Hopefully, the Lunar Vertex will improve our understanding of the evolution of the surface of the moon, assuming Nova C will stay upright this time. Moonbase 3 is also launching no earlier than the fourth quarter of 2026, but on a Falcon 9 alongside a couple other payloads. But that isn't it. This is just the beginning of these moon-based missions, and NASA says there are more than a dozen missions to be announced later this year. But what's the point of visiting somewhere if you won't leave your accommodation for the entire trip? Let's take a look at what's going on with the Lunar Terrain Vehicles. Back in 2023, NASA put out a call for industry proposals for a next-generation Lunar Terrain Vehicle, and come 2024, they had selected Astrolab, Lunar Outpost, and Intuitive Machines for the initial development. This is a similar process to how they first selected Blue Origin, Dynetics, and SpaceX for the initial human landing system development, before actually selecting SpaceX and later Blue Origin to actually provide the service. Well, that final task order is what NASA awarded yesterday, with Astrolab and Lunar Outpost being awarded $219 million and $220 million respectively for their crewed lunar vehicle, or CLV, and Pegasus vehicles. You might have noticed that these look a little different to the renders from 2024 though. During NASA's Ignition event a couple of months ago, they realigned some of their exploration priorities, and one of those realignments was the initial complexity of those lunar rovers. The original plan saw the 3 aforementioned companies proposing van-sized lunar vehicles, one of which would be used on Artemis IV, which, at the time, was planned to be the 3rd crew moon landing of the Artemis program. A bigger and heavier rover needs a bigger and heavier lander, and right now those just don't exist. Therefore, the new plan is to basically scale everything down. Astrolab's CLV-1 is adapted from its pre-existing Flex architecture, the original bigger rover, and can reach speeds of more than 6 miles or 9 kilometers per hour. Lunar Outpost's Pegasus is also adapted from its Eagle rover, but lighter of course to meet the new requirements, capable of speeds more than 9 miles or 14 kilometers per hour. Just like their larger counterparts, these will of course have the ability to be driven by the 2 astronauts actually riding them. They can also be teleoperated by somebody off-site, as well as fully autonomously with a computer driving. As you can see, these are more of a golf buggy scale than a van scale, weighing in at approximately 1 metric ton, making them a much more manageable payload to deliver to the surface, at least in the short term. Not only is the size more nimble, but the timelines are more nimble as well. The original plan saw the first rover being used on the 3rd moon landing in the 2029 timeframe, but the new plan sees the first rover being used on the 1st moon landing in 2028. That's now Artemis IV, following the reprofiling of Artemis III earlier this year. To get these lunar terrain vehicles to the moon, NASA has initially selected Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1, which, at least according to the spec sheet, is plenty capable of delivering such a payload. It'll use a crane system to lower both of these rovers to the ground from its payload storage area on the roof. The rovers will operate remotely before the first Artemis crew arrives in an attempt to help reduce risk and scout out the terrain around the South Pole. NASA's primary way of imaging this region to date has been through the trusty Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Launched in 2009, it's been in a polar orbit of the moon ever since, taking photos of the moon with its onboard instruments, the highest resolution of which are the narrow-angle cameras, which are only capable of 50 centimeters or 1.5 feet per pixel. Now, don't get me wrong, LRO is an awesome piece of kit doing great work, but NASA needs something a little bit better. That's where the MoonFall drones come in, and while they are nothing like the drones you'd find on Earth considering there's no atmosphere for propellers to bite into, they are an evolution of the technology used behind the Ingenuity Mars helicopter. Built by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, they're essentially small 250 kilogram hoppers which will be flying across the lunar surface, mapping out its features over the course of a single lunar day. We already knew that though, NASA announced it back in March. What we didn't know, however, was how these drones would be getting to the moon. Well, now we do. Firefly Aerospace has been awarded a contract to deliver 3 or 4 of these drones on one of their Elytra space tugs in 2028. Elytra will provide the initial deceleration when approaching the moon, but it won't land there. In fact, the drones will deploy mid-flight and make their own way down to the surface. Each MoonFall drone will be carrying up to 10 high-definition cameras to capture imagery at a much higher resolution than can be taken by current on-orbit assets. Plus, some terrain is very difficult to reach, so it makes much more sense to fly over it than to try and drive over it with an autonomous rover. Come the dark and cold lunar night though, any remaining propellants on board will freeze, preventing future flights. Therefore, at the end of each drone's respective flights, they will land at a location to mark out the perimeter of the future moon base location. And even though they won't be able to fly, each drone will carry a survive the night payload which will be able to wake up when the sun rises again and communicate with Earth. But that's not all. More commercial lunar landings are coming very soon. Over the next few months, NASA says there will be more opportunities for companies to compete for CLPS 1.0 and CLPS 2.0 task orders as part of Phase 1 of the moon base. Plus, we're rapidly approaching the crew announcement for Artemis III, which will be taking place on June 9th at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. We'll be covering that when it happens, but for now, I've been Caton for NSF, thanks for watching, and goodbye.